and welcome to this week's 10-Minute Q-Tip Tuesday. I'm your host, Amelia Borland, occupational therapist and owner and founder of Higher Standards Caregiver Training. And as always, I am here today to give you 2 super valuable tips in only 10 minutes. If you are new to 10-Minute Q-Tip Tuesday, then the first tip is going to be for caregivers specifically, and the second one is going to be for caregiving organizations. So make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end. I'm also going to give you some information about where specifically today organization leaders and owners can go to get more information about some really high profile safety issues that everyone is always thinking about. So that said, let's go ahead and get started with today's tips. Oh, wait, one more thing, sorry. This is for educational purposes only, y'all. So if anything that I say reminds you of someone that you know, someone that you work with, someone you care for, etc., and you think that that person needs to be treated or assessed by a licensed healthcare provider, then please make sure that person gets the appropriate treatment or they are seen by that appropriate healthcare provider, as this is truly for educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for health or medical advice or a therapeutic relationship. So now let's get started. A lot of what I talk about is safety during obviously caring for others, and specifically though, safety for safety when we're doing transfers with people, because obviously that is a time when caregivers in particular can be at a very high risk of injury, is when we're lifting, when we are physically moving someone else's body from one location to another. So I talk a lot about safety with transfers, both here on 10-Minute Q-Tip Tuesday, and of course when I am out training caregivers and for the organizations that I serve. I wanted to talk to you about something that is really, really important before you ever transfer someone. And this is something that I have always done in my own practice as an occupational therapist as a way of protecting myself and certainly protecting the person that I am about to transfer, particularly if it's someone that I am unfamiliar with. Maybe it's the first time I'm working with them, whatever the case may be. Maybe they had a status change, something's happened, whatever the case may be. This is something that I always do before I actually perform a transfer. So I wanted to share this tip with you today because I think it's a super valuable one. So the tip is, and you've heard me say before, probably, if you watch 10-Minute Q-Tip Tuesday, you probably heard me say before, this principle of don't commit to failure in a transfer. So you don't want to just keep going with a transfer just because you started it. But kind of even before that, what I try to do to make sure I'm not walking into a situation where there's a high likelihood of failure during that transfer is I give it a little test beforehand. And I do that simply by having the person, depending on how that transfer is probably going to go, but I want to get an idea of how that person can move and assist to begin with. So one of the simpler, and there are lots of ways to do this. Obviously on 10-Minute Q-Tip Tuesday, we're not going to go through every single one of those things, but one of the ways you can do this is by simply, before you actually do the transfer, get a little bit of a sense of how well that person's going to be able to do, how much they're going to be able to help, by simply asking them to try to come to a stand with your assistance. And of course, this isn't appropriate for everyone. There are people who are not able for any number of reasons to safely come to a stand. But if you have someone who you think is going to be able to help you, they don't have any safety precautions, there's no physical reason why they can't put weight through their legs or things like that to help come to a stand, then I'll usually start out just by saying like, hey, we're going to do this sorry, I should talk to you. I'm used to talking to the person who I'm transferring, but I'm going to talk to you like you're the person that I'm about to transfer. So I'll usually say, hey, we're going to try to get from the bed to the wheelchair, or wherever it is. so that I can make sure that you and I are going to be safe doing this together. Before we try to go anywhere at all, I'm going to put my hands here on you, I'm going to put my feet here, we're going to put your feet there, kind of get everything arranged, and then say, and we're just going to try to come to a stand together. That's it. And then we're going to sit right back down. And if we don't come to a stand, that's okay. Whatever we can do together safely here, I just want to see how much we're going to be able to do together here. And that does a couple of things. One is it actually gives you that opportunity to see before you are going in to be in the process of physically moving a person's body from one location to another. It allows you to actually physically feel how much they're going to be able to assist you. The second thing it's going to help you do is to help you understand how afraid this person is, right? Because that is absolutely an issue in safety during transfers. Comes up all the time in trainings. And the third thing it's going to do for you is it's going to actually help that person to feel more comfortable working with you, because they're going to see that you have that safety mindset, that you're not just going to pick them up and throw them in a chair, which people are very afraid of, reasonably so, that you're not going to embark on something that you actually can't safely do. So it gives not just you, but also the person that you're working with, the person you're caring for, a much higher level of confidence in how the actual transfer is going to go and what measures need to be put into place to make sure that that transfer, once you do it, is done safely. And the more comfortable everyone is, the higher the likelihood, and the more information you have, of course, the higher the likelihood that transfer is going to go really nicely and smoothly, and that person is going to have a lot more confidence and trust in you. So that's my first tip for today. Super, super valuable stuff there. Just allowing yourself a little test run. Let's just see if we can come up to stand and then sit back down. We're not going anywhere. Low stakes, relatively low risk compared to doing the actual transfer itself, but gives you a lot of information and really increases that confidence level. That's tip number 1 for today. Tip number 2. So if you've been watching these last few episodes of 10-Minute Q-Tip Tuesday, you probably remember that we are on a safety first culture kick right now. And how do we build a safety first culture in an organization? We've talked about a few topics already. Today, I really want to reiterate to you in my second tip for caregiving organizations is that if you want to have a safety first culture, then you have to train for safety. And so what does that mean, right? It means that we have to go above and beyond just meeting the basic requirements for compliance a lot of time, right? So, and of course, every state is different. Some states have higher requirements for training than others do. Some have very limited requirements. It actually it doesn't matter what your state requirements are in terms of compliance. You got to meet those regardless, right? But if we're talking about a safety first culture, then you have to be training consistently, with that focus being not on just checking the box for compliance, but on actually addressing safety in the situations that your caregivers are actually facing. So this training needs to be pragmatic. It's got to be practical. It's got to be about what your caregivers are actually seeing and answering the questions they have about what is actually happening in their day-to-day shifts, right? It also has to be a high enough frequency that you are able to reiterate these same safety principles over and over and over again until they really become foundational in the basics of care that your caregivers are providing. They also need to be high frequency because you have new caregivers coming in all the time, and you want to make sure that their concerns are being addressed, that changes in the care people are needing, that safety issues there are being addressed as you go along. So it's not just about training for compliance or training to check off that box, even though obviously you have to do that, to maintain your licensing and your standards for whatever it is. you've got to do those things. But having a safety first culture is about going above and beyond and making sure that you are training on a highly regular basis, talking about the safety issues that your caregivers are seeing and reinforcing those safety principles all the time. So that's my second tip for today for caregiving organizations, all about building a safety first culture. If that's something you're interested in more of, definitely check out the other 10-minute 2-Tip Tuesdays. You can also, of course, send me a message, reach out, leave a comment, whatever you need to do, and I'd be happy to talk more about that with you for your organization. I know, last thing. So one of the safety topics that obviously comes up all the time is fall prevention. If you're the leader of a non-medical home care agency, a residential assisted living, if you are the leader of a non-medical caregiving organization, then it is really important not just for your caregivers to have a basic understanding of fall prevention, but also for you to have an understanding of fall prevention from the leadership perspective. So, if that describes you and fall prevention is something that you know you want to prioritize, then I'm going to drop a link in the comment box here shortly. Give me a few minutes to get that done after the video is posted, with a link to where you can go to look at the fall prevention series for non-medical care organizations, and it is specifically for the leaders of these organizations. So make sure that you are checking out that resource that is available to you, and I will put that link in the comment section below the video. Just give me a few minutes to get everything posted and out there. Okay, that's it for me for 10-minute 2-Tip Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back next week live for 10-minute 2-Tip Tuesday again at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And until then, y'all, make sure you please stay healthy, stay well, and most of all, take care. Bye, y'all.